Welcome back to this new video and ReFramework tutorial. In the last video I talked about the third state, process transaction. In this video I will talk about the fourth and last state, end process. Normally I first explain the used variables and workflows in the state, then I go through the state and explain the different activities. But I already explained in the previous videos all variables and workflows, which we use in this state. Therefore I will first do a recap for the ReFramework, so that you know how we reach the last state. Then I will explain the state, for what it can be used. You can find the links for all ReFramework videos on my channel in the video description. Let's go. We have here the ReFramework template, which consists of these four states. In the first state we load the settings and start the applications, which we need in the process. Once this state is successfully executed, we move on to the second state, get transaction data. But if we have any exception in the first state, we move on to the last state, end process. Assume everything is okay in the first state, so we go to the second state. In this state we retrieve the items, which we want to process. Once we got an item, we move on to the third state, process transaction. But if we don't have any items to process, we move on to the fourth state, end process. Assume we have an item to process, so we go to the third state. Here the item will be processed. After executing this state we have three options. Either the item is successfully executed. In this case we move on again to the second state to get the next item to process. Or we have a business exception. In this case we also move on to the second state to get the next item to process. And the last option is, if we have a system exception. In this case we move on to the first state. Why we do that? Because we have a system exception and we need to start the applications again. Therefore we go to the first state, load the settings and start the applications. Then we go ahead to the second state to get the next item. And we do these steps until we don't have any items more to process. In this case we go to the last state. As you see, we reach this state in two cases. Either the initialization state throws an exception. Or we don't have any items more to process. In this state we finish the execution of the process. This means that we close the applications, which we used in the process. Or we remove the temporary created files. Or we can send a report for the department, what we did in the process, and to inform the department that the execution of the process is finished. Or we disconnect the connection with the database, if we use one. Or also disconnect the file share, if we connected to anyone in the process. In summary, this state is to reset the settings of the machine, so that we don't have any changes on the machine after executing the process, and we also don't have any connections to any application or something else. Let's now see the end process state. Which activities does it contain? As you see, we have only an entry section, no exit section or transitions. Why? If you already watched the state machine video, you should know this point, but let me tell you again. State machine has two state types. Normal state and final state. The normal state contains entry and exit sections, and also transitions. We use this state type within the state machine between the other states. And the final state contains only entry section. We only use this state at the end of the state machine. It means, we use it to end the process in a state machine. Therefore we don't need any exit section or transitions, because we don't have any other states after this state. So in ReFramework we have the end process state of type final state, therefore we only have an entry section. Let's now see the activities in this state. Currently we only have one workflow. It's CloseAllApplications. This workflow closes the used applications in a safe way. It means, we close them normally without killing. But in case we have an exception in this workflow, the other workflow, KillAllProcesses, is invoked. In this workflow we kill the applications, because we couldn't close them normally. That's all what we have in this state. But as mentioned, if you need to send report, disconnect a database or do something else at the end of the process, you can add the activities or workflows here. That's all about the last state in ReFramework. This is also the last video in the ReFramework tutorial. In the next video I will start with use cases, to show you how to implement a process using ReFramework template. Please let me know, if you have a specific use case, which you want to see in the next videos. Have a good time and see you in the next videos.